My name is Victoria, and 3 months ago, I discovered something that would destroy my marriage, shatter my family, and ultimately transform me into someone I never thought I could become. But before I tell you about the night that changed everything, you need to understand how I got here. I'm 35 years old, living in a penthouse overlooking downtown Chicago, married to what everyone believed was the heir to one of the largest real estate empires in the Midwest, Blackstone Properties. You've probably seen our buildings, those gleaming towers that pierce the skyline, luxury condos where celebrities hide away, commercial complexes that house Fortune 500 companies. My father-in-law, Richard Blackstone, built this empire from nothing, turning a small construction crew into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And I was supposed to be the perfect wife, the beautiful accessory to complement my husband's eventual rise to power. That's what everyone thought, anyway. But here's what they didn't know, what even my own husband didn't fully grasp. I wasn't just some trophy wife content to organize charity galas and pick out curtains. I had spent 8 years as a financial analyst on Wall Street, the kind of woman who could smell a bad investment from a mile away and turn numbers into pure gold. I could read a balance sheet like poetry and negotiate deals that would make grown men weep. My husband, David Blackstone, was different, charming, yes, handsome, absolutely. But ambition, drive, the killer instinct that built his father's empire, he had about as much of that as a golden retriever has interest in tax law. 3 months ago, on a rain-soaked Tuesday evening, I came home early from a board meeting where I'd just saved the company $12 million by spotting a flaw in a contractor's proposal. I was exhausted, my heels clicking against the marble floors of our penthouse, when I heard something that made my blood turn to ice. Laughter. Female laughter. Coming from our bedroom. But it wasn't just any woman's laughter. It was a sound I knew as well as my own heartbeat because I'd been hearing it my entire life. My sister, Elena. What I discovered in that bedroom, what I witnessed with my own eyes, would set in motion a chain of events so devastating, so brilliantly destructive, that even now, months later, I sometimes can't believe I orchestrated it all. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Because the real story, the one that will make your jaw drop and your heart race, that story begins with a single phone call I made the next morning. A call that would expose secrets buried for years, destroy carefully constructed lies, and reveal that the woman everyone underestimated was about to become the most dangerous person in Chicago's real estate world. You see, while my husband and sister thought they were playing me for a fool, they had no idea they were actually playing with a master. And masters don't just get mad, they get even. If you're already hooked and want to see how this story unfolds, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens next will blow your mind. Also, drop a like if you're ready for a tale of revenge that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single detail of what's coming. Let me paint you the full picture of what I walked into that night, because the betrayal was so much deeper than just catching them in bed together. I stood in that doorway, my Louboutin heels silent on the plush carpet, and watched my husband, of 7 years with my own sister, my twin sister, tangled in sheets that I had picked out for our anniversary just 3 months earlier. But what made my stomach twist wasn't just the physical betrayal, it was what they were saying. "She has no idea how much the company is really worth," Elena whispered, running her fingers through David's hair. "Victoria thinks she's so smart with her little financial reports, but she doesn't know about the offshore accounts, does she?" David chuckled, that lazy laugh I'd once found endearing. "Dad keeps her busy with the legitimate stuff while I handle the real money. She's useful for now, the board trusts her, and she makes us look good. But once Dad retires and I officially take over, we can get rid of her." Elena's voice was honey and poison. "We can do whatever we want. The prenup is ironclad. She gets nothing. And the best part? She's been working her ass off to build up a company that she'll never actually own. They started kissing again, but I had heard enough. I backed away silently, my mind racing not with tears or heartbreak, but with something far more dangerous. Calculation. You see, while they were busy congratulating themselves on their clever deception, they had just handed me the most valuable piece of information I could possibly have. Confirmation that there were hidden assets, offshore accounts, and financial structures that I, despite being the company's chief financial advisor, had never seen. That night, I didn't confront them. I didn't scream or throw things or collapse in tears like they probably expected I would if I ever found out. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine, sat in my home office, and began to plan. The first call I made was to someone David and Elena had no idea I even knew existed. Marcus Chen, the best forensic accountant in Chicago and a man who owed me a favor from my Wall Street days. Marcus was the kind of person who could find hidden money in places you didn't even know money could be hidden. Victoria? His voice was surprised when he answered at 6 a.m. the next morning. It's been years. I need you to do what you do best, Marcus, and I need it done quietly, quickly, and thoroughly. What kind of timeline are we talking about? I need everything you can find in 2 weeks. Everything. Bank records, shell companies, investment portfolios, offshore accounts, trusts, real estate holdings. If Richard or David Blackstone has ever touched it, I want to know about it. There was a pause. Marcus knew that when I used that tone, when I spoke with that particular edge in my voice, someone was about to have a very bad day. Should I ask what this is about? Let's just say I'm about to discover that my husband has been keeping some very expensive secrets. And Marcus, this stays between us until I give you the word. Understood. Victoria, be careful. If what you're implying is true, then they picked the wrong woman to underestimate. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in acting. I continued going to board meetings, continued having dinner with David, continued playing the role of the devoted wife and daughter-in-law. Elena would text me about getting lunch, and I'd respond with heart emojis while secretly wondering how long she'd been planning to steal my life. David had no idea that every time he kissed me goodbye in the morning, I was spending my day systematically uncovering every lie he'd ever told me. But here's where the story takes a turn that no one, not David, not Elena, not even Richard, saw coming. Because while Marcus was digging into the company's finances, I discovered something that would change everything, something that would transform me from victim to victor in ways that even I couldn't have imagined. What Marcus found in those 2 weeks didn't just expose David and Richard's deception. It revealed a conspiracy so elaborate, so carefully constructed, that I actually had to admire their audacity even as I plotted their destruction. Victoria, you need to sit down for this, Marcus said when he called me on a Friday afternoon. I was in my office at Blackstone Properties, ironically working on a quarterly report that, as it turned out, was completely meaningless. Just tell me. Your father-in-law has been operating 2 completely separate companies. There's Blackstone Properties, which you know about, the legitimate business worth about $800 million. But then there's something called Obsidian Holdings, incorporated in Delaware, with subsidiaries in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Luxembourg. My pen stopped moving. How much? Conservative estimate? $2.7 billion. Felt the air leave my lungs. While I'd been working 60-hour weeks, managing what I thought was the family business, there was an entirely separate empire worth more than 3 times as much that I'd never even known existed. There's more, Marcus continued. David isn't just the heir apparent. He's been actively involved in Obsidian Holdings for the past 5 years. He's got signature authority on accounts containing hundreds of millions of dollars. Your husband, Victoria, is already effectively running a business worth more than some small country's GDP. And me? According to every document I can find, You don't exist in relation to Obsidian Holdings. Legally, you have no claim to any of it. Even if you divorce David tomorrow, the prenup you signed only covers Blackstone Properties, the smaller, legitimate business. I hung up the phone and stared out at the Chicago skyline, at the buildings that bore my father-in-law's name, and I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Not anger. Anger was too hot, too uncontrolled for what I needed to do. This was calculation. This was strategy. That night, David came home with flowers, white roses, my favorite, and that boyish smile that had charmed me 7 years ago. "How was your day, beautiful?" I kissed his cheek, smelling Elena's perfume still lingering on his skin. Productive. Very productive. If only he knew. Over dinner, I began to plant seeds. "David, I've been thinking about our future, about what happens when your father retires." He nearly choked on his wine. "What do you mean?" "Well, I assume you'll take over as CEO of Blackstone Properties. I've been running the day-to-day operations for 3 years now, but obviously you'll want to step into your father's role." The panic in his eyes was delicious. "Actually, Victoria, I've been thinking, you're so good at what you do. Maybe we should keep things as they are. You love the business side, and I'm more of a big picture person." "Interesting," I said, twirling pasta around my fork, "because I had lunch with your father yesterday, and he mentioned something about wanting to discuss succession planning with both of us next week." This was a lie, but the way David's face went pale told me everything I needed to know. He was terrified of his father discovering just how little he actually knew about the legitimate business he was supposed to inherit. "Maybe we should wait on that conversation," he stammered. "I mean, Dad's nowhere near ready to retire." I smiled, the kind of smile I used to give difficult clients right before I dismantled their arguments. "Of course, darling. Whatever you think is best." But that conversation had given me the final piece of the puzzle. David wasn't just cheating on me and stealing from me. He was actively afraid of me. Afraid of what I might discover. Afraid of what I might tell his father. Afraid that his carefully constructed house of cards might come tumbling down. And that's when I realized something that would change the entire game. David needed me more than I had ever needed him, which meant I held all the power. I just had to figure out how to use it. The plan I devised over the next week was so audacious, so perfectly calculated to destroy both David and Elena while securing my own future, that even now, I sometimes can't believe I had the nerve to pull it off. But before I tell you about the trap I set, you need to know about the one person who nearly ruined everything, Richard Blackstone himself. Because while I was planning David's downfall, the old man was planning something of his own. Something that involved me in ways I never could have expected. The meeting that changed everything happened on a Monday morning in Richard's private office, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. I thought I was walking into a routine quarterly review. Instead, I walked into the most important conversation of my life. "Victoria, close the door and sit down," Richard said, without looking up from a folder thick with documents. His voice had that edge I'd learned to recognize over the years, the tone that meant someone was about to have their world turned upside down. I sat, my hands folded in my lap, my expression neutral. After years of high-stakes negotiations, I'd mastered the art of giving nothing away. "How long have you known?" he asked simply. My blood turned to ice. "Known about what, Richard?" He looked up then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Respect mixed with something that might have been pride. "About Obsidian Holdings, about the offshore accounts, about the fact that my son has been living a double life." The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. I could lie, deny everything, play the innocent daughter-in-law, or I could take the biggest gamble of my life. 2 weeks, I said quietly. "I've known for 2 weeks." Richard leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his weathered face. "Marcus Chen is very thorough and very expensive." My heart stopped. He knew about Marcus. He knew everything. "How long have you been watching me?" I asked. "Since the day you married my son. Did you really think I built a business worth billions of dollars by trusting people blindly? I've had security monitoring all of our communications, all of our activities. I know about David's affair with your sister. I know about their plans to push you out once I retire. And I know that you've spent the last 2 weeks conducting the most thorough investigation into my business practices that anyone has ever attempted." I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, with no idea whether he was about to push me off or pull me back to safety. "So what happens now?" I asked. Richard opened the folder and slid a document across his desk. "Now, Victoria, we discuss your future. Because unlike my son, I recognize talent when I see it. And unlike my son, I value loyalty. Real loyalty, not the pretense of it." I looked down at the document. It was a contract, but not like any contract I'd ever seen before. "I'm offering you something that David will never have, something that Elena could never understand. True power. Not the illusion of it, not a position handed to you because of who you married, but earned power. Deserved power." What are the terms? Simple. You continue to run Blackstone Properties as you have been, with one addition. You also become the managing partner of Obsidian Holdings. Every offshore account, every shell company, every hidden asset, you'll have complete control over all of it. In exchange, you handle a small problem for me. What kind of problem? Richard's smile turned cold. The kind that involves a son who thinks he can steal from me, and a woman who thinks she can manipulate her way into my family's fortune. The kind that requires someone with your particular talents to solve permanently. I stared at the contract, my mind racing. This wasn't just about divorce or revenge anymore. This was about inheritance, about empire, about stepping into a role I'd never even dreamed possible. "Why me?" I asked. "Why not just cut David out yourself?" "Because, my dear, Victoria, you have something I need, plausible innocence. When David and Elena's world comes crashing down, when their schemes are exposed and their futures destroyed, no one will suspect that the wronged wife was the architect of their destruction. They'll see you as the victim who somehow managed to land on her feet." I picked up the contract, scanning the terms with the eye of someone who'd spent years reading complex financial documents. What I saw made my breath catch. Full ownership of Obsidian Holdings upon Richard's death, immediate control of all international operations, a salary that would make me one of the highest-paid executives in Chicago, and most importantly, complete. Legal protection from any claims David might make in divorce proceedings. "What exactly do you want me to do?" I asked. Richard leaned forward, his eyes glittering with anticipation. "I want you to give them exactly what they think they want. And then I want you to take it all away." The plan he outlined was so perfectly vicious, so precisely calibrated to exploit David and Elena's greed and arrogance, that I actually felt a moment of sympathy for them. But only a moment, because as Richard spoke, as he laid out step by step how we would expose their affair, reveal their embezzlement, and destroy their reputations while positioning me as the innocent victim who heroically saved the company, I realized something profound. I wasn't the same woman who had walked into that bedroom 3 weeks ago. That woman had been naive enough to believe in love and loyalty and family. This woman, the woman sitting in Richard's office, signing a contract that would make her one of the most powerful people in Chicago, this woman understood that the only person you can truly trust is yourself. And this woman was about to prove just how dangerous it is to underestimate her. The beauty of our plan was its simplicity. We wouldn't have to fabricate evidence of David and Elena's crimes. We would simply create the perfect circumstances for them to commit those crimes in front of witnesses. It started with a phone call I made to Elena on a Thursday morning, my voice carefully calibrated to sound excited rather than murderous. "Elena, I have amazing news. Richard wants to discuss making David the official CEO next month, and he's planning this huge celebration. But here's the thing. He wants me to present the financial overview to the board, and I'm terrified I'm going to mess it up. Elena's voice was honey-sweet with false sympathy. Oh, Victoria, you'll do fine. You always do. But what if I don't? What if I say something wrong and David doesn't get the position? I could ruin everything for him. Elena, I need your help with something, but you have to promise me you won't tell David. I don't want him to know how nervous I am. Of course, honey. What do you need? Could you come to the office this weekend? Help me go through the presentation? I know you don't know about business stuff, but sometimes it helps just to practice with someone. This weekend? I don't know, Victoria. I have plans. Please, Elena. You're the only person I trust with this, and David can't know. He's already stressed enough about the transition. She agreed, of course. How could she resist the opportunity to get inside information about David's inheritance while playing the supportive sister? What Elena didn't know was that Richard and I had spent the previous week preparing a very special presentation for her. One that would contain carefully falsified information about Obsidian Holdings accounts, information that would be irresistible bait for someone planning to steal from the company. Saturday morning, Elena arrived at the Blackstone Properties, offices wearing a designer outfit that probably cost more than most people's rent. I met her in the lobby, playing my role as the nervous, grateful sister. Elena, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's your weekend. Don't be silly. We're family. Family. The word tasted like poison in my mouth, but I smiled and led her up to the conference room where Richard was waiting. Elena. He stood to greet her, his performance worthy of an Oscar. Victoria told me you were coming in to help. How thoughtful of you. I just want to support Victoria, Elena said, her eyes already scanning the room, taking in the expensive art, the mahogany table, the view of downtown Chicago. I could practically see dollar signs reflecting in her pupils. For the next 2 hours, I walked Elena through a presentation that revealed, in carefully orchestrated detail, the existence of accounts containing over $400 million in liquid assets, accounts that would be transferred to David's control within the month. I showed her bank routing numbers, account passwords, even the locations of safety deposit boxes containing bearer bonds. All of it completely false, but Elena didn't know that. My God, Victoria, she breathed, staring at the numbers on the screen. I had no idea the business was worth so much. Neither did I until recently, I said, allowing a note of awe to creep into my voice. Richard's been incredibly generous, bringing me into the financial side of things. He says David will need someone he can trust to help manage all of this. Elena nodded, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. She was already planning how she and David could access those accounts, how they could transfer the money before anyone noticed it was missing. Victoria, she said carefully, have you thought about what would happen if something went wrong? I mean, what if David decided he wanted someone else to help him with the finances? What do you mean? Well, you know how men can be. Sometimes they change their minds about business partnerships, even with their wives. I let confusion cross my face, then understanding, then fear. You think David might not want me involved once he's officially in charge? Elena put a sympathetic hand on my arm. I'm not saying that, honey. I'm just saying, maybe you should think about protecting yourself, making sure you have access to some of those accounts independently, just in case. And there it was, the suggestion I had been waiting for, planted so naturally that Elena believed it was her own idea. How would I even do something like that? I asked, my voice small and uncertain. Elena glanced around the empty conference room, then leaned closer. Well, hypothetically, if someone had access to those account numbers and passwords, you mean steal from the company? Elena, I could never not steal. Protect yourself. Look, Victoria, I love you, but you need to be realistic. Men like David, men with that kind of money and power, they don't always stay loyal to their wives. You need to have a safety net. I let her convince me, let her paint herself as the caring sister looking out for my interests, while she carefully coached me through the process of what she believed would be embezzlement. What she didn't know was that every word of our conversation was being recorded, and that the accounts she was helping me access were actually dummy accounts set up specifically to catch her in the act. By the time she left that day, Elena believed she had successfully manipulated me into stealing from my own family's company, money that she and David would then be able to claim as their own once they revealed my crime and had me arrested. She had no idea she had just signed her own destruction warrant. The final phase of our plan would unfold at David's succession dinner the following Friday, a celebration that would become the most spectacular downfall Chicago society had ever witnessed. The succession dinner was held at the Chicago Club, one of those old money establishments where deals worth billions get made over handshakes and whiskey. Richard had invited 50 of the most influential people in the city, board members, competitors, political figures, journalists, the kind of audience that would ensure David and Elena's humiliation would be witnessed by everyone who mattered. I arrived in a stunning black evening gown, my hair swept up in an elegant chignon, diamond earrings that had belonged to Richard's late wife sparkling at my throat. I looked every inch the successful executive, the devoted wife, the perfect daughter-in-law. David was already there, working the room with his characteristic charm, accepting congratulations on his upcoming promotion with the casual confidence of a man who believed he was about to inherit an empire. Elena stood nearby in a red dress that was just slightly too tight, just slightly too revealing for the occasion, a detail I noticed several of the older board members' wives whispering about. Victoria. David approached me with a wide smile, leaning in to kiss my cheek. You look incredible, darling. Thank you, I murmured, allowing him to take my arm and guide me through the crowd. How are you feeling about tonight? Confident, he said, his voice warm with satisfaction. Everything's going exactly according to plan. If only he knew. At 7:30, Richard called for everyone's attention. The room fell silent as he stood at the head of the long table, a crystal glass of champagne in his hand. Friends, colleagues, family, he began, his voice carrying easily through the elegant dining room. Tonight marks a new chapter in the history of Blackstone Properties. For 35 years, I've been privileged to build this company alongside some of the finest people I've ever known. But every leader must eventually plan for the future, must ensure that what he's built will continue to thrive long after he's gone. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. David's chest swelled with pride, and I saw Elena squeeze his hand under the table. Which is why, Richard continued, I'm so pleased to announce that effective immediately, Victoria Blackstone will be assuming the role of Chief Executive Officer of Blackstone Properties, with full operational control of the company and all its subsidiaries. The silence that followed was deafening. David's face went white, then red, then white again. Elena's mouth fell open in shock. Around the table, board members began to smile and nod. Apparently, this news wasn't as surprising to them as it was to my husband and sister. Dad, David managed to stammer. I think there's been some mistake. No mistake, Richard said, firmly. Victoria has been the de facto leader of this company for 3 years. She's increased our profits by 40%, expanded our operations into 6 new markets, and earned the complete trust and respect of our board of directors. It's time to make her leadership official. I stood slowly, my hand trembling just slightly as I accepted the champagne glass Richard offered me. This part wasn't an act. I was genuinely moved by the moment, by the culmination of years of hard work and careful planning. Thank you all, I said, my voice clear and strong. I'm honored by your confidence, and I promise to lead this company with the same integrity and vision that Richard has shown for over 3 decades. The room erupted in applause. Board members stood, raising their glasses in toast. I saw genuine warmth and approval in their faces and realized that this wasn't just a political maneuver. They actually respected me, actually believed I was the right choice to lead the company, but the real drama was just beginning. As the applause died down, Richard raised his hand for attention once more. Before we celebrate, however, there's one more piece of business we need to address. Victoria, would you mind sharing with everyone what you discovered during your recent audit of our financial systems? This was it, the moment Elena and David's world would collapse completely. I reached into my purse and withdrew a folder, my movements deliberate and calm despite the chaos I was about to unleash. During a routine review of our accounts last week, I discovered some irregularities that require immediate attention. David started to rise from his chair, panic flashing in his eyes, but Richard gestured for him to sit. It appears, I continued, that someone has been attempting to access confidential financial information, including account numbers and passwords for our most sensitive holdings. Someone who had access to our offices and our computer systems. I opened the folder and began distributing copies of printed emails, recorded conversations, and security footage. Elena's face went ashen as she recognized her own voice on the transcripts, her own image in the photographs. "Elena Morrison," I said, my voice steady as steel. "You convinced me to access company funds without authorization. You coached me through what you believed would be embezzlement. You did this while conducting an affair with my husband, planning to steal both my marriage and my livelihood." The room was dead silent now, the tension so thick it was almost suffocating. Elena started to speak, but no words came out. David had sunk back in his chair, his face buried in his hands. "David," I continued, turning to face my husband directly, "you've been living a double life for years, pretending to be an uninvolved, disinterested heir while actually managing offshore accounts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Money that you've been systematically moving out of the country." 6 months later, I'm sitting in Richard's old office, my office now, reviewing the quarterly reports that show Blackstone Properties' most profitable year in company history. The view from my floor-to-ceiling windows encompasses half of downtown Chicago, including 3 buildings that bear my name instead of David's. Elena is serving 18 months in federal prison for fraud and attempted embezzlement. Her trial made national news, partly because of the dramatic nature of her crimes, but mostly because the transcripts of her conversations with me became a sensation on social media. Apparently, there's nothing the public loves more than watching a would-be gold digger get exactly what she deserves. David disappeared shortly after the trial ended. Some people say he moved to Europe, others claim he's living under an assumed name in South America. I don't particularly care where he is, as long as it's far away from me. As I close this chapter of my story, I want to leave you with something to think about. We all face moments in our lives when the people we trust most prove themselves capable of the deepest betrayal. When the foundations we've built our lives on crumble beneath our feet. When the future we planned disappears in an instant. In those moments, we have a choice. We can let the betrayal break us, define us, make us smaller than we were before. Or we can use it as fuel, as motivation, as the raw material to build something stronger than what came before. Elena and David thought they were taking everything from me. Instead, they gave me the greatest gift of all. They showed me exactly how powerful I could become when I stopped waiting for other people's approval and started claiming what I deserved. So here's my question for you. When life strips away everything you thought you knew about yourself, what do you find underneath? When the people you trust reveal their true nature, when the life you built crumbles around you, when betrayal cuts so deep it changes your DNA, do you curl up and let it destroy you? Or do you rise from those ashes like a phoenix and build something magnificent from the wreckage? Because here's what I learned. Betrayal is painful, but it's also liberating. It frees you from the illusion that you need anyone else's permission to be powerful. It teaches you that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. And sometimes, that's exactly the lesson you need to become who you were always meant to be. Elena and David thought they were writing my ending. Instead, they gave me the opening chapter of the most incredible story I've ever lived. What would you have done in my position? Would you have forgiven and tried to rebuild? Or would you have chosen the path of strategic revenge like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious about how you would handle discovering that the two people you loved most in the world had been systematically planning your destruction. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about the power we all have to transform betrayal into triumph, hit that subscribe button and join this community of people who refuse to let life's worst moments define them. Give this video a like if you believe that sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming everything your enemies never thought you could be. And remember, your story isn't over just because someone tried to write your ending. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters come after the pages you thought would destroy you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.